Psychology has been around a long time. Sociology is actually one of the most recently accepted scientific practices, but both have very important rules to make your business more profitable. I'm going to share a few right now that are going to help you to quit working weekends, evenings, and long hours and spend more time with your family. Let's get right into it. The sociological and psychological impact of being an expert is very powerful. Try saying that 3 times. What I mean is very simply that people react differently to experts than they do generalists. It's true in virtually every field. People react differently to a cardiologist's opinion than they do their general practitioner's opinion. They react differently to a glaucoma specialist than they do their regular eye doctor. They'll respond differently to a tax accountant versus someone who just simply does books for a real estate company. It's very different when you're an expert, and the response that you get is different. This is true in the real estate industry just like it is in all the other industries, because it is an impact that comes from individual psychological and group sociological impacts. So bottom line is that being an expert has no disadvantages. Become an expert in a particular area of real estate, and here's some of the benefits you're going to see, which will get you to not working weekends and spending more time with your family. Let's start with this one. When you're a recognized expert, sellers will call you. Now, I know that's something people chase and have chased for a long time. It's something I personally chased. I tried to figure out how to accomplish that. And I did it really to solve a problem. And that problem was to spend more time with my family. I really needed for sellers to contact me. I really needed to manage my time in my business better. And becoming an expert is the solution to that. Because sellers call experts. They come after experts to get their opinions and their services. It's very different than if you chase them and close them for appointments. When they come to you, they want your service. They want your guidance. They want your counsel. It's a very different relationship. You can manage the time very differently than if you're chasing them. The social context of them needing your services is very different than you needing their business. I hope this is making sense. You see that in virtually every industry. So when sellers start calling you, here's what happens. Quite often, you're the only one they call. I usually break down stats and things like that when people ask me questions into groups of 10. So if someone says, hey, how long does it take you to sell a listing? I say, well, the last 10 listings I sold, here's what happened. So it's very easy for them to understand that group of 10. So that's what I'm going to do right now. The last 10 listing appointments I had, I was the only agent on 9 of those. Not having competition is a great way to go. So here's the thought process, and this is again comes from the psychological and sociological impact of being an expert. The thought process is this: we'll talk to an expert. If we like what they have to say, we'll move forward. If we don't like what they have to say, then we'll contact somebody else. So if you're reasonably likable and you're an expert, you've got a great chance to quit working weekends and spend more time with your family. The expertise that you have is going to be in demand by people who need what you know. I hope this is making sense. Again, so as you move forward, you will get more referrals because you're an expert. Do you know how my glaucoma specialist gets business? Referrals. Very simply. Typically from eye doctors, from patients, but the process is very straightforward. He is a recognized expert in his field, and he gets referrals who need what his expertise is. And that happens in the real estate business as well. I constantly get referrals from people who have used my services as an expert, and I also get referrals from people who I don't know. This happened as recently as a few weeks ago where someone called, asked me to come out. I asked how they'd heard about me. They gave me a name, and I said, gosh, I don't think that's one of my clients. They said, it's not. It's a neighbor of ours. And that neighbor saw that you were an expert in the type of property we own. So they matched us up together. And referrals are the greatest source of business. They really are. If they come from people you know, it's even better. But if they come from people you don't know, that's okay too. Because when someone calls you and they recognize you as an expert, someone whose guidance and expertise they need, it's very, very strong. And the last point I'm going to make about expertise is the trust factor. People tend to trust experts. In the environment that we're in, I know a lot of people doubt the expertise in certain political and social arenas. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in a business perspective, people trust experts more than they do generalists. So if I'm an expert in a particular property type, let's just say deep waterfront home. If I'm an expert in that type of property, sellers are going to take my advice more readily than someone who's just a general real estate agent. I think that you can understand exactly what I'm talking about. I can't tell you how many times in my area of expertise, sellers have said, well, you're the expert, Stuart. What do you think? And that's regarding pricing. That's regarding contract negotiation. That's regarding marketing. Decisions that a lot of times a seller would make, they defer to you because they consider you to be the expert. Again, psychological and sociological principles are in play here, and you can either ignore them or you can use them to your advantage. And building an expertise is a tremendous advantage that you truly should use. I'm going to repeat, the scientific benefits of becoming an expert are absolutely tremendous. There really is no downside, and you can become an expert. There's so many areas in which you can become an expert. I cover that in one of the chapters of the book. Another question I get a lot is this one. If I focus on a smaller area of real estate, won't my income go down? Well, valid question, but absolutely not. My glaucoma surgeon did not see a decrease in income. As a matter of fact, a pretty substantial increase. And when you specialize in any industry, including real estate, you will see a substantial increase in your income. Take a look at this video. It'll explain exactly what I'm talking about. I hope to see you over there.